Hi, friends. Welcome back to Karmoscopes. Today, we're going to talk about Saturn retrograde in Pisces that's coming in at the end of June. The karmic astrologer, Saturn is very important to everybody's storyline as Saturn defines the person's structure that they experience in their life and also how they control time. So for myself, a Saturn retrograde has always been a critical time of the year and something I don't take lightly. Karmic astrology is a specified branch of astrology where we anticipate the entire experience of time. So we know and have this understanding that time happens simultaneously and the human lives through past, present, and future. Just to square out some dimensions of time, but there is really a limitless amount of versions of times that we have. You want to factor that all the planets move at a certain speed, and this is equivalent to their pace of time. And we are supposed to express all of this through the human experience and the human body. So some people have a different relationship with the planets. Other people do well with certain ones and don't with others. Now, a Saturn retrograde is important because we have it every single year. And truthfully, half of the year we have Saturn go retrograde. So it's about 5.5 months to 6 months. And this is every single year. And one of my favorite things to do as soon as I start working with a new business or entrepreneur is putting them on the Saturn schedule, because that will make life so much easier in the respect of being in the natural flow, especially with the planet of business. It makes sense to work in that planet's favor. So I also like to consider this when it comes to karmic patterns. And when we are responsible to show up, give our best, and when we can almost take a break and step back to let the universe speak for us. Now, to understand the horoscopes for each zodiac sign, we need to understand what this Saturn retrograde is teaching us. At the very start of the retrograde, Saturn will be at 19 degrees of Pisces, and the energetic signature of this is a expert, a master, teaching his students and his pupils. And what is behind this is the passing down of information, ancestral information, and the elders feeling compelled to teach the children everything they know. And this is a lost art form, we know, in 2024 because of the family being so incredibly divided, that the relationships between family members is getting smaller and smaller and smaller. Except this is what we are trying to bring back as a collective, is this understanding that information is hereditary and a rite of passage, and we are meant to be teaching this back to the young ones and the people who are around us. Information looks so different in 2024, and that is because of AI, and it's because of technology and how we have access to putting even the oldest books and scripts into the digital form. So we have that aspect that's taking place, but we also have the aspect of people waking up. And what I mean by this is Saturn in Pisces is doing the work of untethering the brainwash and the asleep that people have been under when it comes to institutions and being taught what they should believe. I even consider this as a form of hypnosis. And I think people have been under an illusion and magical spells for centuries. And we are the first ones, I would say, like, we're the first 100 generations who are starting to break that illusion down. And that has to do with the age of Pisces. And I've been saying how critical Saturn in Pisces actually is to the forward movement of the age of Aquarius, because we have to break down what has been in place. And truthfully, religion and institutions have been used as a way to pervert and deform spiritual knowledge. So, with us coming back into our oneness and our truth of knowledge, we're having to break these pillars down. A lot of star seeds and light workers, I guess we can say, are the leaders of this. They've been doing the work and teaching back, but this is now trickling down to your average person, to the person who can just see patterns and recognize that something is off, something is different, something is not as it should be. And I think that's why we're looking at such a loud display of obnoxious behavior, even in people like Biden. Like, what are we actually looking at? We know that this is a person who is not in their full will or capacity, and the display is loud, almost comical. And what do we do with something so obvious? Truthfully, what do we do with something that is in our face, incredibly obvious? Like, it's not even an elephant in the room because we're able to see and talk about it. And so I feel like these figures are so representative of what we are breaking down in 2024 with the transit of Saturn and Pisces, is this obvious display of clown show, and us coming back to a place of primitive instinctual knowledge. And so we're looking at the depths of the ugly that is being transformed. So we're going back to origin definition. And I'm thinking about midwifery. I'm thinking about people who were considered witches in the 1800s. And these individuals really just were doulas. And we're coming to that understanding of breaking the illusion that they did any harm versus were just women in their organic natural space. So we're breaking these veils of illusions that have never really made sense, but we've adopted because of repetitive patterns or institutional changes that happened through all of our ancestors. This is why it is so important for everybody to be tuning into their intuition and their dream time, because all of this information will be remembered in the dream time. Whenever a person is needing to share something to the world, it'll be an intuitive download where that information takes form, and then you can bring it on to the rest of us. Now, at the end of this retrograde, we are going to end at 12 degrees of Pisces, and this is all about initiating the teachers and really coming down to the spiritual essence of what these teachers are meant to share with the world. So it's a second initiation. And the way that initiations happen is by one, healing, two, contact, one-to-one contact. And we're going to be connected because of this. If you are in need of a teacher, rest assured that it will come in during this retrograde. If you are in need of information, of being seen in a different light, being seen in a different form, you are also going to experience that growth during this retrograde. And we're also going to start to see a purge of occult, esoteric information come out into the world, and just kind of letting the mask of taboo be seen for what it is. That is something that I personally feel like I came to live and experience and see through, because nothing gets me more excited than the occult and esoteric world. So to know that this is going to become more mainstream is we are ready to look at the sacrifices that souls have been doing for a really long time, and we're not going to be shy about it. We're going to talk about the true essence of what this reality looks like for people. And these conversations are needed. I also want to start touching on something that I'm going to be speaking more about, which is alien contact and human expansion of the beings that are in the solar system. I do believe that this is a time where the solar system is coming into contact with new forms of beings out there. And this has a lot to do with the alignment of the heavens and the stars that are being accentuated. And ultimately, there is a space of opening that's taking place as we grow, as we ascend as a planet and as an entire system. We are reaching new heights, and this is allowing for new beings to come into our space domain. And I think we're going to see this in time where new information will be revealed to us, new technologies. And these technologies, by the way, are not like iPhone devices. They're intellectual understandings of our limitations and possibilities as a system, as a solar system. So this contact with beings is also going to impact the body and the human wellness journey. So we are going to see these upgrades take place in the physical form, and some people are going to have an easy time with it and others are not. So inherently, this is also a call to getting healthier. The Saturn retrograde is, it's spiritual advancement, and it truly comes with changing the cellular structures and what our body is capable of doing, which is, again, super fascinating. Aries rising, this retrograde is going to hit your 12th house, and this is what makes you guys a leader, because you are experiencing everything in real time before the other zodiac signs experience it. Because Aries and Aries risings, you have a sensitivity to the planetary energies in real time. So Saturn is in your 12th house of Pisces, and Saturn is in Pisces. So you are one of the first group of people who are doing this ancestral healing, this planetary healing. And you've been doing this for the last year and a half. So you have complete guidebook that the world will eventually need to have. Now, the other signs, of course, are still feeling the Saturn and Pisces energy, but it's not as strong or in their face as it is for you. And this is why you are meant to be talking about it always with more people, because you may feel that you're in this like lonely journey and you're the only one who sees things for what they are. But the truth is, you're ahead of time, just like Aquarius is. You are one of the signs that is ahead of the game because of your birth signature. That's how you contracted in this lifetime. So there is an honor to this and a heads up where you are the one who is almost like the test subject. So there's a lot of occupations that are new occupations that are happening to heal the body and spiritual practices, and you are the ones getting dibs on it. And you're the one who is teaching practitioners what is working, what is not. And through this initiation, you become the strongest and the leaders. And you want to not take that for granted because it's a part of what makes you you. So Aries and Aries risings, you are the ones who are going out there to getting different healing modalities, going into the depths of your soul, doing the surrendering process to become a stronger person and break through self-limiting beliefs that are keeping you away from being the physical cardinal vessel that you see yourself as. And so a lot of Aries are also holding like this carrot above their head of who they are meant to be in this lifetime physically. Like, I've always wanted to be a marathon runner. I've always wanted to be a fashion designer. I've always wanted to be a doctor. And that signature is so strong right now. And it's your vision board. So lean into this, because for you to become that person, you're needing to reprogram what you believe your potentials are. Now, I do also want to say that Aries, you are going to be also working through how this is perceived in public. There is a little bit of this being misunderstood by people, or you being the one who opens the doors to these taboo subjects, and people are just kind of like gasping a little bit. So be mindful of that, because you are meant to be talking about these experiences in 2024, and you want to work through the stickiness of what feels weird about talking of this in public. And that has to do with Jupiter squaring Saturn, Jupiter and Gemini squaring Saturn and Pisces. There isn't anything to do but keep going, keep the healing work going, and this retrograde will show you the advancements. You're going to see it in your physical body. So new abilities, losing weight, getting healthier. And if you're not doing the work, maybe getting a little bit sick, realizing that you have to do lifestyle changes, and starting to look up those practitioners that will help you. Taurus Risings. This is your horoscope for Saturn retrograde. This is happening in your 11th house. And Taurus, can we talk about the social responsibility that is on your plate? It's like, do I want to, do I not? And you can't help but have to be in the middle of it. Like, I have an influence and I don't even know why, but people are looking at you for incredible leadership. And what you have that the world needs is endurance and strength, because it is such a confusing time in the world and there's so much chaos and shifts happening, yet you somehow manage to be grounded in opinion, in beliefs, in perspective, and we need that. So a lot of people are anchoring to the Taurus frequency to have a backbone, and that is why we're looking at Taurians who are really strong influencers right now. The ones that are making the most impact are the Taurian influencers. You're looking at Candace Owens. You're looking at Fine Fitness in Instagram. They're both Taurus women who are like on their grind daily, talking about world politics and health and fitness, because we need to get healthy in 2024. And so Taurians are leading in their strength and in their ability to not wither during crazy times. So if you're a Taurus who has been wondering, what the fuck am I doing in the middle of this community, in the middle of this whole dynamic? One, you're getting paid for it. There's money here for you. But two, you are strong. And you're not waving your position or flag. So people are starting to like crowd into your protection because of the absolute shit show that 2024 has been and will continue to be. This energy, while it's incredibly supportive, it is a little bit different to you in regards to your preferred mode of being, but it'll be very fruitful for you towards the end of the year. It's already something that brings you finances, but the thing is, it's not as stable or cozy as you would like it to be. So if you can hang through this year in doing your social responsibility and kind of taking your income from several different streams, this will pan out or even out in 2025, but your karmic uh, contribution will be noted. So it's worth leading in this way. And I keep bringing it back to your money, because you guys, that's what you guys primarily care about, and it will affect your pockets in the positive. The limiting beliefs that you are working through is, does the group want me? Do I belong in this group? And the answer is going to be yes. We need you here. We see you here. It's just a matter of you allowing yourself to hang out with us. Like, we want you here. We appointed you. Let's hang out and don't feel weird about it. Gemini, this is happening in your house of career, this retrograde. And so this retrograde is really about breaking the self-limiting beliefs of your potential as a leader, as a CEO, as a pioneer in some ways in your professional life. And it has so much to do with like this concept of surrendering to the collective work, the collective assignment, and not seeing yourself as a victim, like, oh, I'm just like giving all of myself and I'm not getting anything back. It really is about letting yourself surrender to what the structure needs. And we want to say that you're flexible, right, Gemini? We want to say that you can like handle what is expected or asked of you, but it's just not as comfortable because it's not clear. It's all intuitive and it's a water world, and you want to put facts and words to it. Now, this Saturn is squaring Jupiter in your first house, which says, I somehow am not saying what I mean, and I'm have like foot and mouth disorder right now. And that has a lot to do with Jupiter like really expanding the thoughts and ideas, and Saturn being so critical about what you actually say. Slowing down, being mindful of what you say is so critical during this retrograde. And this means that you may have to ask yourself a little bit more, what is my purpose in saying this? Like, what is my actual goal in speaking to people right now? Because if you just speak without consideration, that's going to get you in trouble in some ways. Okay. Saturn retrograde, some of you who are in positions of authority, just very recently went into positions of authority, may have to step down or re-evaluate their position as leaders. Others that were taken down are probably going to be reinstated, or you're going to get a job that is aligned with your managing experience. So there is a lot of shifts happening during this retrograde for you in regards to career. I will say that it doesn't hurt to take a class on the collective, on like teamwork and group assignments. Like, I think this will help you to feel more confident of the words that you do share. So I expect this retrograde for there to be a lot of trainings for you. So either you're the one training or you're going to be trained. And it is a transfer of power, a transition of power. You will see a lot of people retire if you're in a company, and these are people that have been there for eons. And so that rite of passage is taking place in the workforce. I also am looking at a little bit of a scandal of things being revealed in your job. I don't know if the Geminis will gain access to this information, but I do see a little bit of something being revealed from the back end when it comes to the networkings, like who's working with who in the company, who is involved in the company, and possibly aspects of finances too. I am looking at that little bit of scandal that may be revealed during this retrograde. Cancerian, this is Cancer. This is your horoscope for Saturn retrograde. What is so interesting for you is that this is an internal process. Most of the other zodiac signs are having an environmental shift, but for you, it's all about the inner world. And I mean, you like being here. You're a water sign, you rule emotional security. And so when it comes to the inner work, for the most part, it's something that's already in your language. So this Saturn retrograde is formally taking place in your ninth house of belief systems. So your mind is being cracked open. Jupiter is in Gemini in your 12th house. And so you have like this opening that's taking place. Imagine like a head of lettuce that's just like blooming when it comes to the fragments of your subconscious, and you actually have access to ask yourself these questions. If you wanted to interview your higher self, there is space for this. So I would even say schedule this into a nighttime activity as you fall asleep. Ask your guides to allow them to open that spiritual ladder for you to conversate with your higher self, because it's possible. Now, what you're breaking down is belief systems that do not fit your highest good. And so you're asking a lot of questions. Why? And the difference in this is that before, you didn't probably ask too many questions about what you believed, whether it was a religion, a family taught belief system, or something along these lines. And you were just kind of like really faithfully upholding this. But what's been happening over the last year and a half is that you are asking questions. Why is this like this? Why do I have to do this? And there is a sense of permission to do that. Now, I will say, Cancers, that you want to take this interrogation between you and your guides and your relationship to God. This isn't anything that can be answered with your family, friends, or institutions around you. These are answers that have to come to you by yourself through your own research, through your own spiritual development. So before you get caught up in the trap of asking other people and seeing what other people have done, really aim to do the inner work. Like, I'm going to start researching taboo subjects. What does this really mean? And why did my family really do this? And why did this religion really do that? And why do they say not to, eat grapefruit if you have this thing? So you're asking all these questions and therefore also doing your own research on it. You're on this journey for another year and a half, and that is in your favor because you have all this time to work through what this means for you. At the end of this retrograde, you're going to be closer to a version of your truth that builds your backbone. So if you have been feeling like you're kind of like weak in regards to what you stand for, what you will defend, you're kind of like passing by, it's because of this Saturn in Pisces and the retrograde. But towards November, when Saturn goes direct, you're going to have more of a strong pillar in regards to what your truth is. So keep on doing this work, Cancers. It is for your highest good. And also, I want to mention really quick, this doesn't look like a time or a high period of you seeing like actually physically traveling or doing anything like that. It is introspected, it is books, it is research, and going on intellectual, mental adventures. So I think you'll have an okay time not being so active, but just in case for those of you that have the itch, this is why. Leo, this is your horoscope for Saturn retrograde. Leos, you have been on a climb to power, and this isn't bad. It's just like the last couple of years have been drowning you and putting you in this space of like, I thought I knew who I was. It's been so difficult. And this Saturn retrograde is like breaking down belief systems of what your reality looks like. I'm so sorry to say, when it comes to the struggles you've been having over the last year, it has a lot to do with the inability to see things for what they are. And so you're in this space of not adjusting to the reality of your environment and situation, which can be causing a lot of hardships for you. Leo is a sign that can persevere like to the umpth power. And at the face of a hardship, it will not back down. But when Saturn is in Pisces and hitting your eighth house, there is no other option for you than to ask yourself, what am I serving? Who am I serving? And if you've been trying to serve yourself, it doesn't work that way. It's not working that way in this current climate. So I know it sounds a little bit like there's more of a surrender that needs to take place. I think as long as Leo, you have a healthy environment, this is something that you can do and will survive. This would be different if you are in a toxic environment or in an environment that is pulling your strings of power. Then you'd have to really advocate for yourself to get out of that space. So, Leos, you have the responsibility of taking care of yourself and making sure that you are in a safe space where you can heal. The only answer right now is surrendering and doing the inner healing. And what's going to make you come into the shock is a status denomination. I was at the very top of my game, and all of a sudden, over the last couple of years, it has all fallen through. And so you're having to rebuild yourself from level one. There's no safe space for you to go right now because it's about vulnerability. It's about full exposure. And Leo rules the ego. And so your comfort zone is the ego. And you can't have that right now, which is really, really tricky and a very difficult conversation to have. But here we are. Everybody's on their karmic assignments. Every sign has their stuff to move through. And this is what yours looks like for the next year and a half. This retrograde will and can have the effect of restoring your status and power if you allow yourself to do the healing and process the changes that are happening. If you can let this flow, then by November, you're going to be in a much more stable place when it comes to your status. And by 2026, you're going to be in a whole new world. Virgos, this is your horoscope for 2024 Saturn retrograde. You know, this year has been so much about relationships and how you get along with people. What I want to say here is that Saturn retrograde is not only talking about boundaries in your relationship, but it's talking about breaking the illusion of what a relationship even means to you. So, 50% of this work has nothing to do with the people around you and more about what you expect out of relationships. And I think that something I want to say here is I want you to give yourself permission to change what people offer you. So it's kind of like I used to really value that people would just give me their time. Now I want, honesty from them, or now I want to go on trips with them, or now I want this from my friendship. So it's just kind of catering to your needs and where you are. But somehow there is a struggle doing this because of how much pushback you're getting from other people and also having to work through karmic soul contracts. So, if you haven't yet learned about what effects people have on you, this Saturn retrograde is having you come really close to acknowledging the effects that other people have in your life. So it's not just about keeping people around you because of the companionship. It's about really using discernment, boundaries, and intentionality into who creates your circle. So Saturn retrograde could possibly reveal relationships that are not in your highest good. There is this tone here of kind of facing the truth or the disillusion in a relationship in your life. I also want to be factual and say that this is all relationships, not just romantic. It can look like family, friends, coworkers, colleagues, and of course, lovers and children. So it's just really any person that you have a soul contract with. For singles, this is absolutely a time where a relationship, a karmic soul contract can come back into the picture, and know that it's a test. It's a test, baby. And you are meant to say no or yes. But if you say no, let it be an infinitive no, because you want healthier relationships to come back into your world. So be flexible. And again, this could be any relationship that kind of makes its second round into your sphere, which is totally okay. Interestingly, I do see this like little scandalous moment that can happen in work. This is a time to kind of steer away or stay safe from work relationships or third party situations, dare I say. But this does look like full exposure of people dating, and just keep it safe. Like if the person isn't single at work that you have a crush on, don't mess with them. It'll be public news. Libra rising. This is your horoscope for Saturn retrograde in your sixth house. Let's talk about the impact of Saturn going through your house of routines and health and wellness. So, a lot of this really comes down to time management. And we know that Saturn is a planet that rules over time. And so, you're in this 2.5 year learning lesson of what is worth your time and how can you restructure, prioritize, in your schedule entirely. Now, very often this gets hard for you to do and uphold because you are likely tired and you likely don't have the system in place to keep your energy levels and vitality going really strong. So it's almost like this is a symptom of not taking care of the self. Now, we know that this whole year has been a huge learning lesson about looking at yourself and taking care of yourself. If you have been walking around and you're a Libra rising, Libra sun, if you've been walking around and not taking care of yourself the way that a mother and a father would, then you're depleted right now and you're like looking for lifeline support. So this Saturn retrograde is coming in to say, hey, what does your health and wellness regimen look like? Are you drinking enough water? Are you taking supplements that your body specifically needs? Are you talking to a nutritionist for anything that needs to be taken care of? Do you need to work with a trainer? Do you need to work with a healing, grief work, or energy, Reiki? What does that look like for you? Because very often you need the support of somebody else, at least to set you up. So, like I said, your energy levels are directly correlated to how much you get done in the day. And Saturn is saying, hey, babes, let's adjust. Let's figure this out because You have so many commitments. You cannot get away from being busy. You're busy because you're trying to uphold a structure that you minimized yourself for. So I have a whole full schedule of dogs, kids, businesses, social media content, work, career milestones. You have all of these things, and then you have like set like 2 to 5% of responsibilities for yourself, and it has to be the almost the opposite. It has to go 50% of my time is taking care of myself, and then the other 50 is taking care of my entire life, my world, my kids, my pets, and all this stuff. It is not until you do that change that you'll start to feel more at ease, because when you can fuel the machine, because that's what your body is. Your body is a really cool, alive, fleshy machine. So when you can take care of the bodies and the machine, then you have more to give, more to take care of around you and the people that you are serving. So this is a message about depletion, minerals, herbs, health and wellness, supplements, liver, all these things that have to be taken into account. Now, you can expect to see some changes in your actual work schedule if you are somebody who has a job, or even if you're an entrepreneur. This does look like a time where you get to shift your priorities and have a change in schedule. I'm looking at you working more night times and having to kind of adjust what that looks like for you. And I do think that you're going back to a schedule you were already doing earlier this year. And it's just because you're in a new space, and we have to allow phases to exist. We need to allow phases to take place, because that's the flow of life. You have 6 months of a more cooled out schedule. So take your time to book those spa dates, Reiki dates, acupuncture, chiropractor. Take your time to book all these things and take care of you. And it'll be so much easier to take care of your work, kids, animals, the sky, the trees, whatever you want to be responsible for. Scorpio risings, sit down with me here. I love that we always have like a little special, intimate conversation. I said it in my last horoscope video. What are the chances? What are the odds other signs are going to listen to our conversation right now? Right? Everybody runs away from Scorpio. So let's talk about it. You guys are kind of in the hot seat when it comes to the Saturn retrograde. Honestly, especially if you're Scorpio rising. Saturn is in your 5th house, and this has to do with matters of the heart. This is a really hard lesson for Scorpio to conceptualize, because Scorpio's ruled by desire. And so if a Scorpio rising is craving Taco Bell, whatever it is, they're going to have it within minutes. It's going to be ordered. So when it comes to filtering your desires, please come again. Like, who are we actually talking to? I am the status symbol of desires. I can have what I want. Now, when you mix that up with Leo energy, then it's like, these are my desires and these are my passions, and I'm going to have fun. And the 5th house has so much to do with everything you do to fulfill your happy space and your desire, your passion projects and the things that make you smile. So this could be very cutesy, like your kids and babies, nephews and nieces. It could also be a hobby. You like painting, you like arts and crafts, you like doing something, and so you invest more time into it. But it could also be the naughty side of having, which is a little bit of the nightlife, a little bit of skin to skin, a little bit of drinking, a little bit of, hey, there's no rules. I'm an adult and I can live and thrive in my fleshly desires. So let's be honest here. This also has a lot to do with third party situations, which is why we are sitting down and talking about it. Because if you are in the middle of a third party situation, people are starting to call it a throuple now because it's like cute. We're in a throuple. Okay, how many people know? 2 out of the 3 people know that you're in a throuple. Let's be for real. Okay. Let's be for real about what we are doing in our romantic lives and in matters of the heart. Because it's the one side of the 5th house is your creativity. This is between you and yourself and your heart. When you take it out to other people, then you are having to incorporate somebody else's karma. And that puts you at fault for whatever your role is in this person's life. And a lot of Scorpios will mistake this as a thrill, as like excitement, like something's happening in my life. But the truth of the matter is you're only stalling and really holding yourself back from like your true creative potential. Because creativity is a gift of being a human and being alive. And you're experiencing a 101 training with Saturn on what expression of creativity is fit for you and what this will give you in life. And so when you begin to subside that, because it's kind of boring and it's a lot more fun to do and have fun with people and roll around and do all this kind of stuff, it's like, why would you? So say you're not in a third party situation. This is still about getting responsible and realistic about your dating life. And like, what are the boundaries that need to be set in place when I do talk to a person? What's my time frame? What are my rules and boundaries and regulations for myself? What do I tell other people? How do I tell people to treat me? How am I training others to approach me? All of these things are coming into place during this retrograde. And it's a tough one because the heart, Leo energy, creativity does not want to be filtered. It doesn't want to have limitations, because then what's the point of being alive? And it could really bring on this like sadness and depression of, well, I can't do anything. I don't have my sovereignty. I don't have my freedom. I can't really express myself. But we are growing past that. We're growing past that and saying, okay, I need to take this seriously. I need to bring responsibility, honor, and discipline, integrity into how I am creating and expressing myself. And so I need to bring order to it. If you're going to go date, what are your rules and boundaries? If you're going to do a passion project, what time of the day are you going to do that? If you're going to do a new activity with your kids or not, what does that look like? So these are all under review for you, Scorpio rising. Sagittarius risings and Sagittarius, this is your horoscope for Saturn retrograde. You're going to have this retrograde in your 4th house of home. This retrograde is more personal to you than the other signs because you're a mutable sign and Saturn is an immutable sign. So you're having a square. And this would be squaring your sun energy, which is your identity, your persona, and how you want to express yourself out into the world. So a Saturn square feels like restriction. I'm sorry, who invited you? Like, I'm over here trying to rock my world and travel and do all kinds of fun stuff. And then Saturn says, but you have responsibilities at home. You have to remodel this. Your pool sucks. You're this, you have to pay attention to the matters at home. So it feels like a restrictive and tension filled time for you. So you do have to bring in discernment, patience, and structure into balancing these energies out. Now I'm going to make it super easy for you. You don't have to think anything beyond what I tell you. My suggestion, and what I tell everybody else, you get to do you once you take care of your chores. So figure out what's wrong at home, whether it's emotional or actually physical. Whether you're living with someone, you're having issues with them, you're having contrast with your parents, you as a parent are struggling. Whatever these issues are, you have to create a plan for them. And then you can go outside and play. So if you go outside and play and disregard that you need to come up with a plan and solution for your home, then every time you come back home, that's going to blow up in your face. And Saturn is saying, you can't do anything without me. How old are you? You don't get it by now? You can't do anything without me being taken care of first. It's my world. It's my reality. I rule over earthly timelines. So Sagittarius, it's best for you to anchor yourself into what are my core responsibilities at home. And if you are having serious issues, parenting or you have no idea how to adult. Something broke and you have no idea how to fix it. You need to troubleshoot that. You need to spend a day, an afternoon, an evening figuring out how to do that adult thing. I've never had to talk to, a pool repair guy. So Google, watch videos. I never thought I would be watching videos of the process of hiring but here I am, reviews on TikTok, YouTube, all that stuff. And if it's more serious things like your parenting style, you feel blocked and cornered by your child that you're raising, grief work, shadow work, inner child healing, it's time for you to work through these things to finally really, really, really feel the freedom of who you are as a person. It's a milestone. That's all it is. And once you get through it, you will have a super strong home life. Capricorn and Capricorn risings. How are we doing, babies? Your ruling planet Saturn is going retrograde. So that is a really interpersonal, energetic relationship and shift that you're going to experience. So Saturn retrograde is happening in your third house of the mind. So especially if you're a Capricorn rising, you've had to work through mental health dynamics of like, how am I talking to myself? Where are all these phrases and expressions coming from? Where are they rooted in? And who taught me how to speak to myself this way? And so this Saturn retrograde is having to work through the subconscious. What initially programmed you into the correct thinking process or into what you naturally gravitate towards? So this is kind of really, it can be a little bit eerie because you're having to identify thought patterns and communication styles that were implemented from age 0 to 7. And who remembers that, really? Maybe 7, yes, but at an early age, 2, 3, 4, you're having to go back to that foundational period of your human experience and reframing, reshaping the way that you were taught to speak, share your mind, etc. So this Saturn retrograde is really focused on, let's speak life into each other. Let's speak life into ourselves. Let's speak possibilities and potentials into ourselves instead of fear, instead of sadness, instead of you can't do things, instead of that looks like a big scary monster, versus I can do hard things. I can overcome things. I'm strong. I'm beautiful. I'm amazing. I have a capacity to intuit what's ahead. Anything that you need to say to yourself that's going to be supportive to your higher good. Now, especially if you're a Capricorn rising, this is, and sun, actually, either one, this directly interacts with your ego. And I think that's fascinating because Saturn says, hey, for you to show up the highest version of yourself, you have to take care of how you're expressing yourself. And you have to really begin thinking in the way that your future self wants to be seen and become. So if you are wanting to become a doctor, entrepreneur, what would a doctor say to itself? What would an entrepreneur, how would they talk to themselves? And so that brings a lot into perspective for you. It's an internal retrograde, nothing to do with other people. If you're super in your shadow sides, this can bring up arguments and even betrayals from people in your life where you were lied to. You would never think that you would hear these things from these people. And I don't anticipate that happening to most people, but it is a sense of responsibility of what do I need to learn how to talk to myself again? Do I need to hire a mom and dad? Sometimes we need to do that because sometimes our parents are fucked up. They just didn't give us what we needed. So do I need to hire an old lady out there who can teach me and be a mentor? Do I need to work with an institution, a professional, or get into a group that will help me and support me through XYZ? So it's very important for you to consider over this retrograde because the way that you speak to yourself is going to be what your subconscious manifests into your reality. Aquarius. and Aquarius risings, this is your horoscope for Saturn retrograde. You have a faraway relationship with Saturn, right? We want to say that you two are like cousins, distant relatives, like you've known each other, but it's not like so official. I think I say that because of the old rulership. But Saturn is in your second house of money. And Saturn is talking so much about how you're structuring yourself, especially financially. Now, when it comes to dealing with money and resources and value, it has a lot to do with what you believe about yourself. So, Aquarius, you guys are working through belief systems from age 0 to 7 that shape your core sense of worth and value. It's like these are things we don't really think about, but it's like, what made me think that I deserve to have flowers once a week? Or what made me think that I deserve to be single for the rest of my life? Like, what does that look like? Where were those belief systems rooted in? And you're doing the excavating right now of getting to the root of those misaligned value systems. Now, another thing that's kind of interesting here is you're also working through belief systems that get in your way of what is possible for you. It's almost like you know the way that I see this, Aquarius, is you have a interpersonal relationship with the material world. You're kind of like aloof about it. So when you have Pisces in your second house, it's like, well, do I really want that? Do I really care about having this thing? Or am I okay without it? Like, I don't know if I want it or not. Like, I could get a new car of the year, but also, you'll also realize that you're probably spending a lot of money on things that you're not even tracking. So Saturn retrograde is about bringing structure to everything in your financial world. How are you spending your money? Where is it going? How are you counting it? How are you organizing it? Who's in charge of it? Where does it all go at the end of the day? Like you're having to create systems that number one are intuitively based into it. Like my soul is telling me that I need an accountant. My soul is telling me that I need to have a data tracker book or something like this. And you go with it. You go with that practicality to secure a new system for your finances. This will help you. I do think it's tough to have Saturn in the second house because that's your money, baby. That's your sense of security. And when you have Saturn there, sometimes for longer than 2.5 years, it's kind of like, yeah, you kind of gotta go. I get it. I understand. But my best suggestion to you guys is make sure your bills are paid. I have kind of like a tiered process for people who are experiencing this energy. I like to say that first you clear out the debt, then you clear out the monthly bills, the weight of how much you have to pay monthly, and then you get ahead of the bills. So there's no such thing as free money or fun money. That's going to come after Saturn leaves that second house. So all about super crazy discipline and integrity in how you're managing your finances and ultimately what brings in your finances, which is your sense of worth. I also want to say this too. This is a call to become more valuable because a lot of you guys also want to start making more money, but you're not investing in yourselves and becoming a higher quality person. And that's really hard to hear. Who wants to hear that? But the truth is, if you want more money, you need to become a more high quality person, an individual, and offer more value. And as soon as you could do that, then you are a conduit of money. Pisces and Pisces rising. How's it going? This is your horoscope for Saturn retrograde in your first house. What? Okay, you guys. I really need to say that you need to have more credit for the work that you've been doing because as an astrologer, I've seen people experience. So I've seen Aquarius experience Saturn in their sign. I've seen Capricorn experience their Saturn in their sign, as well as Sagittarius and Scorpio. And I have not seen a zodiac sign that has handled themselves so good and so much better than you guys. Like you understand that there's personal responsibility right now and you are 100% listening for the most part. I do so many hundreds of readings a month. And I haven't came across a Pisces that's like not listening or becoming the student. And that's so incredible to me, because like, just to give you an example, the Aquarians, when they had Saturn in Aquarius, from what I saw, like 80% of them were fighting off the lessons and the structure that was needing to happen. They were just like, nope, 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 nope. And I was like, okay. And I also saw the Capricorns rose up to the responsibility. They weren't happy about it, but they did. And that cycle of people got tremendous growth from that period. So what you need to do is recognize that what your efforts are starting and what you're building is going to be so worth it when it comes to re-establishing a stronger sense of self. So Saturn in the first house is all about how you see yourself, how you approach the world, how you see your body, your relationship to yourself, and being honest about how you interpret the world. So a Saturn retrograde is going to come in and say, what do you believe is possible with your body, with yourself, with your leadership, with your accountability, with your career, with your business, with your entire world? What do you think is possible? And Pisces is going to say, well, I want the universe's plan for myself. And so I'm just becoming a vessel where the universe can express itself through me. Saturn loves that shit. So I was like, ooh, girl, say more. Because Saturn wants to bring the Piscean energy to its highest degree. And that's the highest expression of Pisces, especially with Neptune at 29 degrees right now. Some of you, some Pisceans are actually getting access to God. Now, I know that sounds loud to say because we have access to God all the time. But when it comes to what is being offered right now in the heavens, we have like a straight shooting ladder up into the creator's space. And it's available to us. It's a ladder, spiritual golden ladder that is really beautiful. And we've been working in this ladder with the entire time that Neptune has been in Pisces, and Neptune's your ruler. So Neptune is in its last rounds of being in its home sign, and it's not going to be here for hundreds of years. Then it goes to Aries, and that's it's a whole different world. But the fact that you're experiencing Saturn retrograde, Saturn in Pisces, conjunct Neptune at its final degree, it's very freeing in the future. Yeah, you have to work through some disintegration of old belief systems, but it's so worth you doing, because the other side of this is incredible spiritual strength. And this in turn shapes the ego very strongly, and you have a super strong sense of self, which is all you need. That's what everybody needs. That's what every human needs, is confidence. But your confidence comes with your relationship to God and the universe. My name is Brilla Samay. I am a certified karmic astrologer. I, of course, do private readings for anybody who is interested in talking to me privately over Zoom. It is worth your one session is worth 1 year's worth of information. If you're also curious about learning about your karmic signatures and karmic responsibilities in this lifetime and in past lives, I do have a very exclusive karmic patterns report, which is an emailed version of your birth chart, and you get a complete breakdown of the karma and the signatures that you're working through in this lifetime. It is worth an investment. I promise you, it is something that changed my life when I got my report after studying my birth chart for well over 10 years. So, totally, it is a community favorite and you have access to it. Just go to my site. I do TikTok live stream readings every day. Go to my Instagram to see my TikTok live schedule. And I would love to see you, come across you, and give you a tarot or astrology reading on any given day about almost any topic. I love you guys so much. There's nothing more valuable than time. And that is what you guys have given me today, is your time. And so I'm super thankful and super appreciative of everybody who watched the video, commented, interacted with it, and just hung out with me.